Welcome to this edition of What I Crush. We have a very special guest for you all today. I am joined by my friend and my doctor, Dr. Neela Sandal. And
Hey guys.
Dr. Neela is here in Lawrence, Kansas, which is where I live, as most of you know. And he's going to drop some knowledge on us. But first, I just want you all to know who you're talking with. Dr. Neela Sandal is a doctor of integrative medicine and is the founder and CEO of the Atma Clinic. And he is also the founder and president of HouseCall Health Systems. And I just love working with Dr. Neela because when I come in and I'm like, this hurts or this isn't right, he doesn't just prescribe the thing that fixes the symptom. He actually gets to the cause of it, which is what I love so much about working with him. So that you're all in for a real treat. So Dr. Neela, I'm curious, if you had 100% control over the health and wellness of every American, what are the top 3 things that you would make them do?
Yeah, so you sent me that questionnaire and I was looking at it, I was like, damn, that's a good question. I like this. All right, now he's thinking. Put me in control, see what happens. Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it really kind of made me pause and think about it. There's some obvious stuff that I think most doctors would agree with, and I think probably one of the biggest things is just cut out fake foods. If every single American just stopped going out for fast food, I think that would make a huge difference. And how you define fake foods, obviously if it comes from McDonald's, it's half cardboard, right? Mm-hmm. But even to foods that are genetically modified, one might include that in that category. And we see some health problems from foods like that just aren't, I hate to say whole foods because that's kind of a branded term now, but they picked a damn good name for their brand. Mm-hmm. Just cutting out fake foods would make a huge difference for people. I often say, food can either be, it can either be cheap, quick, or nutritious, right? You've got kind of 3 angles on that triangle. You get 2 of them. You don't get all 3. And so fast food is just a recipe.
Cheap. What was the other 2?
Cheap, convenient, or nutritious. You can get food that's convenient and nutritious, but it's not cheap. You can get food that's cheap and convenient, but it's not nutritious.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, I think just tanking Mickey D's would make a big deal. That'd be that would definitely make a big difference.
Are there some fake foods that maybe a lot of people don't know are fake? Like, do you ever see people that maybe they actually think they're eating healthy, but what they're eating is just complete garbage? Do you ever run into that?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. There are all sorts of degrees, and I'll take anything. So long as people are being conscientious of their diet, I think the really big trouble that people get into is that they're stressed and they want to eat quickly and unconsciously. And anything that you eat quickly and unconsciously that you're not tasting and getting into and going, dang, that's good, is ultimately going to be bad for you, either because you're not digesting it or because it's crap food to begin with. And so really it's more about how you're eating your food. There's all sorts of people who will eat, oh gosh, what's a good example? Most restaurant foods are a good example. I hate to say it, unless they're really like expensive, usually, again, going back to that triangle, unless the cook back there is not compromising to improve their profit margin, you're getting garbage fats. You're getting way too much sugar. You're getting cheap salts and minerals, and that just leads to problems. It might taste good, but it's not good for you. So maybe that's a direct answer to your question. Restaurant foods. It might look okay, but what are they really cooking it with?
Yeah, and I run into you about once a week at the gym, and I got to be honest, you kind of ruin a lot of the restaurants here in town for me because that one uses this oil and this one does that, and this is where they cheap. Yeah, so thanks for that. Okay, so no more fake foods, right? So that's number 1.
Yeah.
What's the second
the fake foods
that you would have Americans focus on or do?
So this might get a little bit more esoteric. The first one, I think most doctors would probably kind of get on board with if you don't catch them at McDonald's. They might sing a different tune while you see them there. But the other ones are a little bit more a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more unusual, but really, I think one of the most fundamental things that people can do for their health is take time to engage in proactive stress management. And I mean that in opposition to reactive stress management. Oh, I'm stressed, I need to do something. Well, that's good, but better yet, catch it early. And so if I was the health czar, and I had a magic wand, I'd try and get everybody to spend about an hour a day meditating.
Mm.
Working out, that'd be okay, that'd be acceptable. But time where people are literally just conscious of themselves, not a to-do list, not a nothing, just sitting there feeling their own bodies. It makes such a dramatic difference to our health. It's just like we were talking about foods. If we're tuned in, if we're paying attention and we eat McDonald's, we get it. We know that's not working for us.
Mm-hmm.
So really the error is in not being present, not being there. And that's a practice. It is a skill that we get better with every time we do it. And so the first time we meditate, we're like, okay, well, that was nothing, whatever. Do it every single day. And then pretty quick, we start to go, whoa, actually, this is really actually easy. I get that I drop in quickly and I feel the result of this really in a deep intuitive way. No one's trying to sell you anything with that. You will feel that if you take the time to do it. There's an old Buddhist joke about this, and they say meditate 30 minutes every day. If you don't have time to do that, meditate for an hour every day. Right?
Yeah,
It's like, and this goes back to some really, really great research. One of your, sorry to jump the list on you, Jordan, but one of your questions is about how to be really efficient, how to avoid burnout, how to really live big. And if we take the time to proactively manage our stress, there's all this great scientific literature on how that increases CEO level efficiency. If you take the time out to proactively manage your stress, you are more efficient at the topmost levels. So definitely that would be a biggie.
So, Neela, one thing, I mean, you kind of said it a little bit there, and I want to make a point here real quick. My favorite book, and most people know this, that Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss is my all-time favorite book. And in there, he interviews over 200 of the top people in their field. So athletes, entrepreneurs,
Cool.
actors, everyone. And the 85% of them have a daily mindfulness practice. It is the most common thread
Heck yeah.
among top producing people in the world. So I want everyone to hear what he's saying is not something to, okay, I got fake foods, but I'm not going to do the meditation thing. Like, you really need to take this seriously. And yet when I bring this up in coaching people, like having a daily mindfulness practice, I met with a lot of, well, meditation is just sitting there not thinking. Right. And I can't do that. I can't just sit there and not think. So if someone were sitting on your couch and said that to you, how would you respond to that?
It's a skill. You have to practice. The first time we try anything, we're not good at it. We don't feel it. We're afraid of failure. We don't continue it. We juke, we dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing to do is just to be there. Just be there. You don't have
Yeah.
to enjoy it. You don't have to hate it. You just hang out. Do nothing else. Fight off the to-do lists. They're going to try and come into your mind, and then keep doing it every day. And you can start up really slow. Even just having a routine practice of 5-10 minutes makes an enormous difference. Your body, your neurology will start to crave that. It'll go, oh yeah, this is the time of the day I get to unload everything and my efficiency goes way up. So it's just a skill. Yeah, we suck at things the first time we try them. It's normal.
Yeah. And I also find that with people, if you're avoiding a lot of things that are hurting in your life, that you might be avoiding that silence because what comes up are the things that you're supposed to be taking care of and you're not.
Yeah.
And, our good friend, Will, who, is my trainer and we see often. I shared with him a quote the other day that most of man's problems come from his inability to sit in a room by himself. with nothing
Yeah.
going on, right? So that's probably something that we see with top performing people is maybe there's some other stuff that you're just avoiding, and the silence brings that up. And it's just another layer for you to consider, as
Yeah.
far as meditation is concerned. Okay, so no fake foods, meditate daily, even if it means starting off very small. If you suck at it, keep doing it. What's the third thing?
This one I struggled with because I'm like, oh, my final chance at dictatorial success here, getting to be the dictator. Um, but one of the things that I really like to do is I like to remind people that there is a world of new science out there. And most conventional MDs are really, really, forgive me, in the Stone Age here. They've heard of some of the stuff that you can do, but they haven't kept up on the research. It's not because they're not very bright people. It's just they don't exist in systems that let them stay up to date with their research and practice the newest stuff. But there's a lot of really, really revolutionary stuff out there. So finding a doctor who can just fine tune, if there's any problem you have, if you take any pharmaceutical, if you've got any health issues, find someone who really, really knows what's going on. There's an old joke in medical school, and they say, oh, what do you call a guy who graduates last in his class?
What?
Doctor. So,
Right.
there is a lot of variety in the skill levels of physicians. And so if you look for a physician who does functional medicine or integrative medicine, ideally there should be an MD. There's people who do it who, say, oh, I'm an integrative doctor, but they don't have the MD training. The beauty of an MD's training is that they're trained to be scientists. And it's wild because most doctors don't end up practicing much science once they graduate. They kind of do a technician's job. It's like a plumber. You just do the thing, you follow the algorithm. But MDs have the ability to be scientists, and they should be. And so if you get connected with a really good doctor, they can look at the really new science, and they can do things like good full proper nutrition panels on you. Look at your endocrine system. This kind of ties into one of your future questions. You were asking me, what are the common things you see in your practice? But everyone's got a little bit of fatigue, maybe a little bit of anxiety, feels a little bit of stomach upset with certain things. All this stuff can be managed. The concept that we've imbibed as a society that you're stuck with your health issues and that's fine, there's nothing to do about it, is complete BS. The science is always evolving. And so be proactive in your health. If something in your body or your mind is not functioning right, find someone who can fix that. That might be you. Maybe all you have to do is meditate and you can figure it out. Might be getting connected with a professional, but don't just let stuff with your body, don't brush it under the table. It only gets worse as you age. It compounds. You pay compounding interest on that stuff. So get out in front of it. That's a big, big deal.
So what I'm hearing you say there, Neela, is that, because I remember one of the first times that I saw you, and it was, I've had anxiety my whole life, like as long as I can remember. And, I think that there are times when we just get to a point where we think that that's just normal, that you're
Right.
supposed to ignore the cues, and we tend to just manage and live with those things rather than get to the root cause of them, which,
Right.
the thing that I think I've learned most from you and Amy is that a lot of this comes from just our gut health.
Yeah. Amy's my functional nutrition therapist.
Right.
Who's on my
Right.
staff. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you speak to
Absolutely,
that a
Jordan.
little bit about how gut health affects our emotions and, you know, why it's
Yeah.
important to even pay attention to that as a thing? Because I don't think it's something you hear in traditional medicine, taking care of your gut, right?
Yeah. One of the most common items that people ignore is gut health. I was talking to someone a little while ago, and this is not really an uncommon thing. They're like, "Yeah, my gut hurts every time I eat. That's normal." I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about that." But people just completely normalize stuff. I get really gassy after I eat. I'm always tired after I eat. My gut aches a little bit after I eat. That's all completely abnormal. That is not appropriate. A functional gut does not do that. And the gut is part of this really complicated interwoven system. Our health cannot be reduced to gastrointestinal health, cardiac health, kidney, brain, right? It's not all these different uninteracting pieces. They're all interacting with each other. And the gut happens to be one of our organs and systems that is interacting with the outside world the most. It's always interacting with the outside world. We're always putting food into our body, and then our body is trying to assimilate that. And it's the root of our health. If we have a dysfunctional gut, so many different things happen from that. We don't absorb our nutrition well. We start producing unusual ecology. And the ecology of the gut is one of these absolute wild west areas in science where there's so much to be learned and so much good that we can do. We just have to pay attention to it and work on it. We have to tame it. And if as a scientific community we pay attention to these things, we're going to start to see real fundamental shifts in societal health. And one of the things we see when we have a improvement in gut ecology is that we produce an enormous amount of neurochemistry, brain chemistry in the gut. And it travels up to the brain through a set of nerves and deposits up in our central nervous system with our brain. So a lot of anxiety is related to the gut. Wild.
Yeah, like crushing 200 milligrams of caffeine in the morning somehow travels from my gut to my brain. That's
right.
weird.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Neela, like with your practice, the people that you see regularly, like what would you say, are the most common health issues that you're seeing and that are avoidable?
Fatigue. That's one I think everyone can relate with, especially professionals. Fatigue is completely avoidable. It's completely treatable. Don't put up with it. It's one of these things. People are like, oh, it's just aging. It's hard. No, you don't have to put up with that. That is fixable. That is a resolvable issue. There's a lot of different possible causes, but you can fix that. Depression and anxiety, similar story there. It's not always chemistry, but it's certainly sometimes chemistry. Sometimes you have to do that meditation work, the psychotherapy, get yourself in line as far as your spiritual practice. But depression, anxiety, don't put up with that. That's not normal. You don't have to put up with that. And then there's some other more simple stuff, metabolic stuff, kind of going back to our earlier conversation, avoiding fake foods and stuff. Hypertension, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, all that stuff is literally avoidable for a vast majority of people. I mean, some people do have just a unfortunate genetic hand they're dealt, but almost all of the metabolic diseases in the US are preventable and treatable as well. Not just things you need to manage with medicine, but you can actually get rid of those. Pretty cool.
Right. So that's where the meditation, the proper nutrition. I mean, depression and anxiety can just be symptoms of your gut health isn't great, right? And
absolutely.
But the thing that I keep hearing you say over and over is that we ignore these things, and what you're saying is that we just have to take a stand for our health and just say,
yeah,
I'm not going to tolerate being tired. I'm not going to tolerate anxiety. I'm not going to tolerate, like, these are symptoms of something that we need to explore with a doctor who is going to look for the root cause. Is that right?
That's a great way to put it, Jordan. We shouldn't tolerate these things. And unfortunately, our medical system is a little bit outdated. We don't have doctors who stay up to date on all the new stuff. So a lot of times people go to their doctor and they're like, hey, doc, I have these things. And their doctor's like, just tolerate it. That's not the doctor you want to be seeing in a best case scenario. They're the doctor who you want to see if you got in a car accident or you have a diabetic coma. They're the emergency guys. They're the end of the line. We should have been engaged with our health way before that. But a lot of docs just aren't that person. And so, we shouldn't tolerate it. And if someone tells us nothing we can do, tolerate it, we still shouldn't tolerate it.
Yeah. That's the pathology versus the vitality approach.
Yes, absolutely right. Yeah, it's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Neela, one thing that we often help our people with is designing their own energy plans, right? And typically that might be 4 to 5 things that people can do in the morning or daily to kind of keep their energy high, to keep themselves, vital, I think is the word, optimized. If you could design an energy plan, and I know that this is a broad statement and that you take a very individualized look at people, but if you could devise an energy plan based on the people you're seeing and the symptoms that are showing up in your clinic, what would be on it?
First things first, get enough sleep. Again, we're talking about professionals here. Sleep. We need sleep. You can't just pretend like sleep isn't a necessity.
Oh my gosh, I have to say something about this because that was the first thing when I came and saw you. You said you need eight to 8.5 hours of sleep, Jordan, and you need to be gunning for 9. And the thing you said is, if I tell you to get 9, you're going to get 8. And there was something about having a doctor tell me that I'm supposed to do it that absolutely got rid of the whole, we subscribe to this grit and grind bullshit of you're supposed to power through it and it's not important and it's kind of a badge of honor of how much sleep you can live without. And
Mhm.
I remember the first time I met with you, that was the thing. You're like, that's garbage. Like
Mhm.
you need good sleep. So sorry to interrupt you, but
No, no,
I
no,
had to say
no.
that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Again, it's just societal narratives. There's this idea, like you said, we're taught that if you can do with less sleep, you're going to get more done. But actually, it's almost always the reverse of that. If we don't get enough sleep, we're inefficient. We might be awake more hours, but we're not getting as much work done. We're also cutting our lives shorter. We're increasing cancer risks. The list just goes on and on and on and on and on. We need sleep. Trust your body. And if you're going, oh, well, how much sleep do I need? Meditate on it. Check in. Trust your body. Everyone's unique, but 8 hours is a pretty darn good average. There are
Mhm.
very few people who legitimately only need 6 hours of sleep. There are genetic freaks out there. I'm envious, but it just isn't reality. We wear ourselves down if we do that. So huge part of an energy plan, get enough sleep, listen to
Okay.
your body. Great test. Go to sleep. Don't set an alarm clock. How long do you sleep for? Most of us are really behind in sleep. And so until we get caught up, wow, we'd sleep in. Trust your body. So that's a good way to look at it. Manage your stress. Just thinking of efficiency. Energy in my mind is also about efficiency. We drain our energy based on our efficiency. The more efficient we are, the less energy we need. So being efficient goes back to that proactive stress management, meditation, making sure that we're using our energy wisely instead of it just kind of leaking out of all the gaskets because we're stressed and a mess. So that's a big part of it. And then don't ignore your body. Listen to these things. A lot of professionals get used to quieting the body signals. I'm hungry. No, don't worry about that. We have a presentation to give. We have a paper due. We have to go show a house. I'll eat afterwards. We pay a premium for that. Our body freaks out. It says, okay, well, I don't know what's going on, but there must be something. I must be getting attacked by a wolf. It exaggerates. And our whole endocrine system, the stress hormone system, flares up because it says, we can't eat. I don't get it. Is there a wolf? Let's be freaked out. And if we train our bodies to live in that state, as almost all American professionals do, we start to get kind of off.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure we're getting enough food, making sure we're having enough leisure time, getting some exercise in. All of those are absolutely critical to having enough energy. Listen to your body. It's like what we do on vacation, right? If what we do on vacation is completely different than what we do on our day-to-day, we're doing something wrong, right? If that's what
Wait,
our body
so
wants to do and we deny ourselves that 350 days out of the year, we're going to get in trouble.
unpack that a little bit for me. So if our body wants to do something or is doing something different on vacation than it's doing at home.
Yeah. So let me give you some
And
examples.
okay.
So let's say you go out to Cancun for a beach vacation, and every day you're sleeping 11 hours, right? Your body's telling you like, oh my God, finally that wolf stopped attacking me. Here, I can try to get caught up, right? Red flag. You're eating different foods. You're eating slowly. You're enjoying your food. Like, wow, I haven't tasted a quesadilla, a taco, a whatever that has tasted this good in so long. Well, Cancun's fine, but the food isn't exactly wonderful. You're probably just paying attention for the first time in a while, right? Spending time with your spouse, significant other, partner, you're like, oh, we haven't had a chat like this in ages. It's so good to reconnect, right? These are all red flags. If it takes a vacation to do that, your body is struggling because it needs all those things routinely. And if we just took the time going back to my earlier recommendation as health dictator, if we took the time to kind of meditate and actually check in, we'd feel that in our day to day, and we go, what am I missing here? Oh yeah, wow, that'd be great. I need to clear the air with my partner. We had this whatever, we had a scuffle and I didn't resolve it. Or just that little day to day maintenance. We need all those things, and a lot of times we just lose out on that. We don't pay close enough attention to it.
Yeah. So the things I think I've taken away, and then we've got a couple of questions here in the chat
Cool.
box that we can answer. But don't tolerate this fatigue and depression and anxiety. Don't tolerate pathology.
Yeah.
Live for vitality. The second thing is be present in all things. So
Yeah.
whether you're talking about how you sleep or how you eat or your personal relationships, the more presence you bring to that, the more intention and efficiency you're going to bring.
Practice
And
checking
then,
in. Just check
yeah,
in. Presence is this sort of vague idea that sometimes people get caught up on that. How do I get it? Just check in. Ask your body.
yep. And that's the last one, is listen to what your body's telling you. That if you're, and one of the other things you and I remember talking about is I was getting up at like 4:30 in the morning, and it was like, when do you naturally wake up? Like
Yeah.
6:15, 6:30? Well, why don't you just set your schedule up to that? Like, oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
could do that. That makes sense.
Creates
So,
efficiency. Yeah.
right. So listen to your body's kind of rhythm. All right, Neela, let's jump into a couple of these questions real quick.
Cool.
And we will be posting, some like his website, and Dr. Neela can, I think, see patients, even if they're not local to Lawrence, that there are things that you can do, even virtually. Thank you, COVID, for forcing all of us to be flexible. So we'll post all of that, his website, the best ways to get a hold of him, all that on our site, on whaticrush.com after this.
We've got a great blog. If you're curious in this sort of stuff, check it out. There's all sorts of good stuff from for myself and my team up there. So yeah, feel free.
Sweet.
And we do free consults if people want to check in too.
Okay, cool. So one question, what does Dr. Sandal know about the AO Scan digital body analyzer, and is it worth getting one?
I'm not familiar with it. Sorry.
Not familiar with that. Okay. And then what are your thoughts on the Pegan diet from Dr. Hyman?
Yeah, Hyman's a very, very bright guy, and the Pegan diet is great. Generally speaking, a plant-oriented diet is what we should focus on. The evidence is resounding. It's okay to have a little bit of meat. It's okay to have a little bit of fish, however you want to play that. But most of our food should be vegetables, not grains, vegetables.
And if you're not familiar with Pegan, it is, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Neela, but it's 75% vegan, 25% paleo. And that's where you get the cross-pollination of Pegan, right?
Yep.
All right, last question. What do you think is the biggest false assumption about integrative medicine?
Biggest false assumption. I think there's a lot of people who think it's BS. And truth be told, it is an unregulated discipline. So there's plenty of chiropractors and naturopaths who say they do integrative medicine or say they do functional medicine. Unlike gastroenterology, there isn't a guild that kind of copyrights that practice and says you have to meet these standards to call yourself this. So I think there are a lot of individuals who, and don't get me wrong, there's some really bright chiropractors and naturopaths out there, but it's a total mixed bag. And so I think there are a lot of people who have seen an integrative medicine doctor or a functional medicine doctor and not seen someone who's really qualified, in my opinion, to be doing that at the top level. So I think there are a lot of people who hear integrative medicine, functional medicine, and they kind of go, oh, that's BS. And well, maybe they saw someone who really didn't know the science and know what they were doing.
Got it. Okay. Just gets a bad rep because it's not necessarily something that's regulated like that.
Right.
Okay. Last question, and then we'll end this. What are your thoughts with apple cider vinegar and gut health?
Yeah, apple cider vinegar can be great for increasing acidity. And most Americans, due to stress, primarily have low acidity in their guts. So a little bit of apple cider vinegar is a nice natural way just to increase your digestive fire. In Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine, we call that Agni. In traditional Chinese medicine, they just call it fire. And you want to increase that so that you can apply that fire to the food you're eating. If we're stressed, we don't have that fire. So apple cider vinegar is a really nice way to kind of jumpstart that. It's a mild way to do it. If you want to go a little further than that, talk to your doctor about some hydrochloric acid. It's kind of taking that same concept a little bit more robustly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool.
Well, Neela, thank you for taking the time to
Jordan, great to see you, man.
Yeah. And like I said, everyone, we'll have this all posted on our site. Next week, we will be on May 24th with Kate Conroy. We're going to be talking about how to win in multiple offers. Kate has put, I think, 21 homes under contract in the last 4 weeks, all buyers. So she knows what she's talking about with multiple offers. And so be on the lookout for that. And thank you all for attending another, what I would consider to be very successful edition of What I Crush. Bye-bye.
Stay healthy out there, guys.
Hi there, and thank you for watching What I Crush. And if you're enjoying what we're putting down, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget the bell button, and check us out at whaticrush.com. We'll see you on our next episode.